One second, you feel safe. And then,
The police are on their way.
well, you still do.
The first thing you need to know about my wife is that she photoshops me out of pictures like I'm some kind of digital tumor. I discovered this delightful hobby of hers on a Tuesday morning while she was in the shower, singing off-key to some pop song about empowerment. Her phone buzzed with notifications, and there it was, our anniversary dinner photo, but with my chair mysteriously empty and the lighting adjusted to make it look intentional. My name is Evan Lorne, I'm 32, and I plan people's financial futures for a living. It's ironic, really, considering I completely failed to see my own personal apocalypse coming. But here's the thing about being married to an influencer. You become background noise in your own life. Kendra Pike Lorne, though she dropped the Lorne part from her social media about 6 months ago, is what you might generously call a lifestyle content creator. Less generously, she's a 29-year-old woman who films herself drinking overpriced coffee and pretends it's a career. Our Toronto condo looks like a magazine spread because God forbid someone sees a real human being actually lives here. "Evan, can you move Baxter's food bowl?" she called from the bathroom. "I'm doing a morning routine story and it's ruining the aesthetic." Baxter, our rescue mutt, looked up at me with the kind of expression that said he understood exactly how I felt. At least someone in this house appreciated my existence. "Sure thing, babe," I called back, moving the bowl behind the kitchen island. I'd learned not to argue about these things. Pick your battles, my dad always said. Though I'm pretty sure he never meant picking between a dog bowl and your wife's Instagram story. The real red flag started about 3 months ago. Kendra began having brand meetings that lasted until midnight. She'd come home smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine, claiming she'd been at networking events. When I asked about her new collaborations, she'd get vague and defensive. "You wouldn't understand the influencer space, Evan. It's really complex." Right, because posting pictures of avocado toast requires a master's degree. Then there were the Venmo payments. I handle our finances, so I see everything. Mysterious charges to places I'd never heard of, payments to photographers for shoots that never seemed to produce content. When I brought it up, she'd wave me off. "It's business expenses, I'll write it off." But the thing that really got to me was how she started talking about our future. Or rather, how she stopped talking about it. No more discussions about buying a house, having kids, taking that trip to Europe we'd been planning. It was like I'd been edited out of her future the same way I'd been edited out of her photos. My best friend Jared works security at Lush, this trendy downtown lounge where Toronto's wannabe elite go to be seen. He's the kind of guy who notices everything and has zero filter about sharing it. When he texted me last Thursday, I was in the middle of reviewing a client's retirement portfolio. "Bro, your wife's here with some campaign, and it's not you." The message came with a timestamp and a blurry photo taken from across the room. Kendra was at a corner table with a guy I didn't recognize, tall, athletic, the kind of jawline that screams, "I peaked in high school but somehow made it work." They were sitting close, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing like they were sharing the world's funniest inside joke. I stared at the photo for a solid 5 minutes. There was something about their body language that made my stomach drop. This wasn't a business meeting. This was a date. That night, Kendra came home around 11, full of stories about her amazing collaboration with a fitness brand. "His name's Troy Maddox," she said, hanging her coat in the closet. "He's got like 200,000 followers. This could really boost my health and wellness content." "Sounds great," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "What kind of collaboration?" "Oh, you know, couples workout content, relationship goals stuff. It's really trendy right now." Couples workout content, relationship goals. With another man. I waited until she went to bed, then did what any modern husband would do. I stalked the guy on social media. Troy Maddox was exactly what you'd expect. Shirtless gym photos, motivational quotes over sunset backgrounds, the kind of guy who calls women queens and thinks it makes him enlightened. His recent posts showed him at the same events Kendra had been attending, always just out of frame from each other. But it was his story from earlier that day that sealed it. A quick video of his amazing dinner at Lush, and for just a split second, you could see Kendra's distinctive pink nails in the corner of the frame. I lay in bed that night, listening to my wife sleep, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak. That would come later. This was something else. Recognition, maybe. The understanding that my marriage was already over. I just hadn't gotten the memo yet. The next morning, Kendra was unusually affectionate, making me coffee and asking about my day. Guilt, I realized. She was feeling guilty. I might be working late again tonight, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. Troy wants to plan out our content calendar. Of course he does, I said, and smiled. I've always been good with details. It's what makes me decent at my job. I notice the small inconsistencies in people's financial stories, the gaps between what they say and what their numbers show. Turns out, those same skills work pretty well for catching a cheating wife. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a forensic accountant of my own marriage. I started taking screenshots of Kendra's posts before she could delete them, noting timestamps and locations. I tracked her Uber rides through our shared account, cross-referenced her work meetings with her actual location data. It was depressingly easy. The breakthrough came when I overheard a phone call she thought was private. I'd come home early from work with a headache, and Kendra was in our bedroom, door closed, talking to her friend Shireen on speaker. I swear, Shireen, Evan has such dad energy lately. Like he asked me about my business expenses yesterday. Can you imagine? It's so unattractive. Girl, you need to just rip the Band-Aid off. Shireen's voice crackled through the phone. Troy's not going to wait forever, and honestly, your engagement rate is way better when you're posting single girl content. I know. It's just complicated. Evan handles all our money stuff, and I don't even know how to access half our accounts. So learn. You're 29, not 12. Besides, once you and Troy go public, the brand deals are going to be insane. Couples content is huge right now. I stood in our hallway, holding my breath, listening to my wife plan my replacement like she was updating her content strategy. Which, I guess, she was. That weekend, Kendra announced she was going to a wellness retreat in Muskoka with some influencer friends. She'd be gone for 3 days, completely offline, reconnecting with nature and her authentic self. I helped her pack, even drove her to the train station, kissed her goodbye and told her to have fun. Then I drove straight to Jared's apartment. I need a favor, I told him, settling into his couch with a beer, and it might be illegal. Finally, Jared grinned. I was wondering when you'd grow a pair. I explained the situation, showed him the evidence I'd gathered. Jared listened without judgment, occasionally shaking his head. Man, she's not even trying to be subtle about it. Troy was in here again last night, posted a story from the bar. Want to guess who was tagged in his location but not visible in the video? Let me guess. Your wife. Brother. Your wife. We spent the next hour planning. Jared had connections throughout Toronto's nightlife scene, people who owed him favors or just liked gossip. By Sunday night, I had a complete timeline of Kendra and Troy's relationship, going back almost 2 months. Photos, videos, witness accounts from restaurant staff who remembered them because they kept asking for better lighting for their pictures. The most damning evidence came from Troy himself. The guy was so obsessed with documenting his life that he'd accidentally created a perfect record of his affair. Instagram stories, tagged locations, even a TikTok video, where you could clearly hear Kendra laughing in the background while he worked out shirtless in what was obviously a hotel room. But the real kicker was the brand collaboration Kendra thought she was being so secretive about. I did some digging into the company supposedly sponsoring their relationship content. Turns out, They had a strict morality clause in their influencer contracts. Adultery was grounds for immediate termination and financial penalties. When Kendra came back from her retreat, glowing and refreshed and full of stories about digital detoxing, I was ready. "How was the retreat?" I asked, helping her unpack. "Amazing. So grounding. I really think I need to do more authentic content, you know? Less stage stuff, more real life." "That sounds great. Hey, I saw the funniest thing while you were gone. Remember that fitness guy you're collaborating with? Troy?" Her hands stilled on her suitcase. "What about him?" "He posted this video from some hotel room, and I swear it sounded like you laughing in the background. Weird coincidence, right? Since you were at a retreat in Muskoka." The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly. "Oh, that's probably old content. You know how these guys batch their posts." "Yeah, probably," I smiled. Although the timestamp said it was posted Saturday night. But like you said, probably just old content. That night, Kendra was unusually quiet. She kept checking her phone, typing and deleting messages. I pretended to read while watching her spiral. The next morning, I made my first move. I called the bank and explained that I suspected fraudulent activity on our joint accounts. Not technically a lie. I did suspect my wife was using our money to fund her affair. They froze her cards pending an investigation. Then I contacted her main sponsor, the wellness brand that had been paying her for the last year. I sent them a carefully worded email expressing concern about their influencer's recent content, with screenshots of her posts about being single and ready for new adventures. By noon, Kendra's perfect little world started cracking. The first sign that my plan was working came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I know the exact time because that's when Kendra called me, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Evan, what the hell did you do? My card isn't working." I was in the middle of a client meeting, reviewing Mrs. Patterson's investment portfolio, when my phone exploded with Kendra's rage. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. "What do you mean your card isn't working?" I asked, injecting just the right amount of concerned confusion into my voice. "I'm at Holt Renfrew trying to buy a jacket for Troy's event tonight, and my card got declined. It's humiliating." Troy's event. Not our event. Not a work thing. Troy's event. That's weird. Let me call the bank and see what's going on. Maybe there's a fraud alert or something. "Fix it, Evan. Now. I'm standing here like an idiot in front of the sales associate." "I'll handle it, babe. Don't worry." I hung up and went back to Mrs. Patterson, who was politely pretending she hadn't heard my wife's meltdown through the phone. "Sorry about that. Marriage, right?" I said, with a rueful smile. "Oh, honey," Mrs. Patterson said, patting my hand. "I've been married 43 years. That didn't sound like marriage. That sounded like entitlement." "Smart woman, Mrs. Patterson." I waited exactly 2 hours before calling Kendra back. "Bad news, babe. The bank flagged some suspicious activity on our accounts. They're doing a full investigation. Could take a few days." "What kind of suspicious activity?" "Unusual spending patterns, payments to vendors they can't verify. You know how paranoid they are about fraud these days." The silence on the other end was deafening. "How am I supposed to pay for anything?" "I can transfer some money to your personal account. How much do you need?" "I don't know. Like 2,000? I have that brand dinner tomorrow, and I need to look perfect." $2,000 for one dinner. For context, that's more than some of my clients spend on groceries in a month. "Sure thing, I'll transfer 500 for now, and we can see how long this investigation takes." 500? Evan? That won't even cover my hair appointment." "Well, maybe skip the hair appointment. You always look beautiful." I could practically hear her grinding her teeth through the phone. While Kendra was having her financial crisis, I was busy implementing phase 2 of my plan. I'd spent the weekend crafting the perfect email to her wellness brand sponsor, complete with screenshots and a timeline of her recent posts. The email was a masterpiece of concerned citizen journalism. "I hope this message finds you well. I'm a longtime follower of your brand and have noticed some concerning inconsistencies in your influencer Kendra Pike's recent content. As someone who values authenticity and family values, I thought you should be aware of some potential issues with her representation of your brand. I attached screenshots of her single girl era posts, her location tags that contradicted her stated whereabouts, and a few choice photos of her and Troy looking very much like a couple. Then I sent similar packages to 3 other brands she worked with. By Thursday, the dominoes started falling. Kendra's phone rang at 10 a.m. I was working from home, ostensibly focused on my laptop, but really watching her face as she took the call. "Hi, Hannah. What's up?" Kendra's voice was bright and cheerful. Hannah was her main contact at the wellness brand. I watched her expression change from confusion to panic to barely controlled rage. "What do you mean suspended? I don't understand. What photos? I haven't posted anything inappropriate." The call lasted 15 minutes, with Kendra's voice getting higher and more desperate with each exchange. When she finally hung up, she looked like she'd been slapped. "Everything okay?" I asked, not looking up from my screen. "My biggest sponsor just suspended my contract pending an investigation into my brand alignment." "That's terrible." "What kind of investigation?" "Someone sent them photos of me with Troy, claiming I was misrepresenting myself as single when I'm married." I looked up then, making sure my face showed the right amount of confusion and concern. "But you are married, to me. I know that. But my content strategy has been focused on independence and self-discovery. It's not about relationship status, it's about empowerment." "Right. So you told them you're married, just exploring independence?" Another long pause. "It's complicated, Evan." That afternoon, while Kendra was at an emergency meeting with her manager, I made a call to Troy's modeling agency. I'd done my homework and discovered that Troy was represented by Elite Models Toronto, and they had very specific clauses about their models' public behavior. "Hi, I'm calling about one of your models, Troy Maddox. I have some information about his recent activities that might violate his contract terms." The receptionist transferred me to a manager named Rebecca, who listened with professional interest as I explained that Troy appeared to be involved in a public affair with a married woman, complete with social media documentation. "We take our model's public image very seriously," Rebecca said. "Can you send me what you have?" I sent her the same package I'd sent to Kendra's sponsors, plus a few additional photos Jared had taken at Lush showing Troy and Kendra in compromising positions. By Friday, Troy's agency had suspended him pending their own investigation. That weekend, Kendra barely spoke to me. She spent most of Saturday on the phone with Shireen, trying to figure out who could have sabotaged her career. I helpfully suggested it might have been a jealous competitor or maybe just bad luck. These things happen in your industry, right? People are always trying to tear each other down. She looked at me with something approaching suspicion, but I'd been so supportive and helpful throughout her crisis that she couldn't quite make the connection. Sunday night, as we lay in bed, she finally broke. "Evan, I need to tell you something." "What's up?" "Troy and we've gotten close, maybe too close." I turned to face her, putting on my best concerned husband expression. "What do you mean, too close?" "We've been spending a lot of time together for work, and I think people might have gotten the wrong idea about our relationship." "What kind of wrong idea?" "That we're involved, romantically." I let the silence stretch just long enough to be uncomfortable. "Are you? Involved romantically?" "No, I mean, not really. It's complicated. There's been some flirtation, but nothing serious." "Flirtation. Evan, you have to understand. The influencer world is different. Everything is about creating content and building brands. Sometimes the lines get blurry." "So you've been flirting with another man for content?" "It's not like that." But she couldn't explain what it was like, because the truth was too ugly to say out loud. She'd been having an affair and planning to leave me, but now that both their careers were imploding, she needed me back. I think we should take a break, I said quietly. What? I think you need some space to figure out what you want. And I need some space to figure out if I can trust you again. Evan, no. It's not what you think. I'll stay at Jared's for a while. We can talk when you're ready to be honest with me. I packed a bag and left that night. As I drove to Jared's apartment, my phone buzzed with increasingly frantic texts from Kendra, but I was done being her safety net. The real fun was just beginning. Moving in with Jared was like getting a front row seat to Toronto's gossip network. His apartment overlooked King Street, and between his job at Lush and his girlfriend Maya's connections in the fashion world, he knew everything about everyone in the city's influencer scene. Bro, you're a legend, he said, handing me a beer as we watched the sunset from his balcony. Kendra's been calling everyone she knows, trying to figure out who snitched on her. She's convinced it's some jealous influencer. Good. Let her think that. Troy's been in the bar 3 times this week, drowning his sorrows. His agency dropped him completely yesterday. Apparently, the photos you sent were just the tip of the iceberg. They did their own investigation and found out he's been violating his exclusivity clause with multiple brands. I felt a warm satisfaction settle in my chest. What about Kendra? That's the best part. She's been trying to rebuild her brand as a relationship transparency advocate or some bullshit. Posted this long caption about how marriage is complicated and people shouldn't judge others for exploring their truth. How's that going for her? Her comment section is a war zone. Half her followers are calling her a cheater. The other half are telling her to leave you and live her truth. It's beautiful chaos. Maya joined us on the balcony, fresh from her shift at a downtown boutique where she dealt with influencers all day. Your wife came into the store today, she told me, settling into Jared's lap. She was trying on dresses for some event, asking for a discount because her brand was going through a transition. Please tell me you didn't give her one. Hell no, but I did overhear her phone call with her manager. Apparently she's lost 3 major sponsors this week, and the brands that haven't dropped her are demanding she clarify her relationship status. What's she going to do? That's the thing, Maya grinned. She can't win. If she admits she's married, she loses the independent woman angle that's been working for her. But if she claims to be single, she's basically admitting to adultery, which violates the morality clauses in her remaining contracts. It was perfect. Kendra had built her brand on an image that was fundamentally incompatible with reality, and now reality was demanding an accounting. My phone buzzed with another text from her. Evan, please come home. We need to talk. I can explain everything. I showed the message to Jared and Maya. You going to respond? Jared asked. Eventually. But first, I have one more surprise for her. The next day was Kendra's birthday. She'd been planning a big party at some trendy rooftop bar for months, back when she still thought she'd be celebrating with Troy as her new boyfriend and me as her discarded husband. Now, with her career in freefall and Troy avoiding her calls, she was stuck with a party she couldn't cancel and a guest list full of people who were either gossiping about her or actively avoiding her. I decided to give her a birthday present she'd never forget. I'd been collecting evidence for weeks, but I'd saved the best for last. Through Jared's connections, I'd gotten my hands on security footage from Lush showing Kendra and Troy in a private booth, making out like teenagers. I'd also obtained copies of their text messages, courtesy of Troy's ex-roommate who had access to his laptop. But the real masterpiece was a compilation video I'd put together showing side-by-side comparisons of Kendra's social media posts and her actual activities. Her girls' night posts next to footage of her with Troy. Her self-care Sunday content next to photos of them at hotels. Her focusing on my marriage captions next to screenshots of her telling Shireen that I had dad energy and was holding her back. I had the video delivered to her party as a surprise birthday message from a secret admirer, timed to arrive just as the party was hitting its peak. Jared and I positioned ourselves at a sports bar across the street with a perfect view of the rooftop venue. Maya had friends at the party who would give us real-time updates. At 9:30 p.m., Maya's friend Chloe texted, "They're setting up the projector for the surprise video. Kendra looks excited. At 9:35, holy shit, this is incredible, everyone's watching. At 9:37, Kendra just ran off the roof, people are filming everything. At 9:40, Troy just showed up and people are booing him. This is better than reality TV. My phone rang. Kendra sobbing. Evan, please, I know it was you, please come get me. I'm sorry, who is this? I think you have the wrong number. Evan, don't do this. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Oh, Kendra, hi. How's your party going? You know how it's going. You ruined it. I ruined it? That's weird, because I wasn't even invited. But I heard there was an amazing video presentation. Very professional quality. I'll do anything. I'll post a public apology. I'll tell everyone the truth. The truth? That's a novel concept. What truth would that be? That I'm married, that I had an affair, that I'm a terrible person. That does sound like the truth. But here's the thing. Kendra, I don't want your apology. I want you to experience consequences for your actions. Revolutionary concept, I know. I hung up and ordered another beer. Over the next hour, social media exploded. Kendra Pike was trending on Twitter, with people sharing clips from the video and photos from the party. Someone had filmed her running off the roof in tears, and it was being shared across every platform. But the best part was the comments on her Instagram. Her followers, the ones who had bought into her authentic lifestyle brand, were not holding back. So much for living your truth. Turns out, your truth was lying to everyone. Imagine being married to someone and editing them out of your life like they're a pimple. The secondhand embarrassment is real. This is why I trust no one on social media. Your husband dodged a bullet. Hope he finds someone who deserves him. By midnight, Kendra had lost 10,000 followers and counting. Her remaining sponsors were distancing themselves in real time, posting statements about not condoning infidelity and reevaluating partnerships. Troy, meanwhile, had become a laughingstock. Someone had started a TikTok trend called Pulling a Troy, which involved dramatically posing with someone else's partner while motivational music played. He was getting roasted so hard that he'd made all his accounts private. As Jared and I walked home, my phone buzzed one more time. Shireen. Evan, this is Shireen, Kendra's friend. We need to talk. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. I met Shireen at a coffee shop in Liberty Village the next morning. She looked nervous, constantly checking her phone and glancing around like she expected paparazzi to jump out from behind the espresso machine. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. This should be interesting. What can I do for you, Shireen? She fidgeted with her coffee cup, clearly struggling with how to begin. Look, I know you probably hate me. I'm Kendra's friend. I was there for a lot of the planning. Planning? The whole thing with Troy, the exit strategy, the way she was going to leave you. I leaned back in my seat, studying her face. Why are you telling me this? Because I feel terrible about what happened, and because... She paused, taking a shaky breath. Because I think you should know that it wasn't just about Troy. What do you mean? Kendra's been planning to leave you for over a year. Troy was just the excuse she needed. She's been building her brand as a single woman, slowly erasing you from her content, setting up her finances to be independent. This wasn't news to me, but I let her continue. She used to say the most awful things about you, how you were boring, how you didn't understand her ambitions, how you were holding her back from her full potential. And you just listened to this? Shireen's face flushed. I tried to defend you sometimes, but Kendra, she's very persuasive. She made it sound like she was trapped in this marriage that was suffocating her creativity. But that's not why you wanted to meet me, is it? She looked surprised. What do you mean? You didn't ask me here to apologize or to fill in the gaps in my knowledge. You want something. Shireen stared at me for a long moment, then laughed bitterly. Kendra always said you were smarter than you looked. Thanks, I think. So what do you want? I want to make a deal with you. Now this was getting interesting. I have information about Kendra that could finish what you started, but I want something in return. What kind of information? The kind that would end her career permanently and maybe land her in some legal trouble. I signaled the waitress for another coffee. I'm listening. Kendra's been committing fraud. Tax fraud, specifically. She's been reporting her income as much lower than it actually is, hiding cash payments from brands, claiming personal expenses as business write-offs. How do you know this? Because I helped her set it up. I used to work for an accounting firm before I got into content creation. Kendra asked me to help her optimize her tax situation last year. And you're willing to turn her in? For the right price. I studied Shireen's face, trying to read her motivations. What's the right price? I want her follower base, her brand partnerships, her whole platform. You want to destroy your friend's career so you can steal it. She's not my friend. She never was. Do you know what she said about me last week? That I was a hanger-on, who was jealous of her success. That I was probably the one who leaked her affair because I was bitter about my own failed relationships. The pieces clicked into place. You're the one who's been feeding me information. Shireen smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Took you long enough to figure that out. The security footage from Jared, the text messages, the timeline of their relationship. All me. Well, me and a few other people who are tired of Kendra's bullshit. Why? Because she's a terrible person who's been coasting on other people's work for years. Do you know how many of her original posts are stolen content? How many of her brand deals she got by lying about her engagement rates? I had to admit, I was impressed. So this whole time, while I thought I was orchestrating her downfall, you were just the instrument. I was the conductor. And now you want to finish the job. I want to give you everything you need to destroy her completely. Financial records, email conversations where she admits to fraud, evidence of her stealing content from smaller creators. In exchange for what, exactly? I can't just transfer her followers to you. No, but you can help me position myself as the whistleblower who exposed influencer fraud. I become the hero who stood up for authenticity and honesty in social media. I get book deals, speaking engagements, my own platform built on being the person who took down a fake influencer. It was diabolical and brilliant. What about the legal consequences for you? If you helped her commit fraud, I kept records of everything. Emails where I warned her about the legal risks, documentation showing that I advised against the fraudulent practices. I can prove I was coerced into helping her. Were you coerced? Does it matter? She's going down either way. The question is whether you want to be the one who delivers the final blow, or if you want to watch someone else get that satisfaction. I thought about it for exactly 30 seconds. Send me everything. That afternoon, I received a file folder that would have made the IRS weep with joy. Bank records showing unreported income of over $200,000. Email chains where Kendra discussed hiding payments from brands, screenshots of her claiming a vacation to Belize as a business expense when it was clearly personal travel. But the most damning evidence was a recorded phone call between Kendra and a tax preparation service, where she explicitly asked them to help her minimize her reported income through creative accounting. I spent the evening organizing everything into a comprehensive package. Then I sent it to 3 places: the Canada Revenue Agency, the Competition Bureau, and a financial crimes journalist at the Globe and Mail who specialized in influencer fraud. I also sent copies to every brand that still had contracts with Kendra, along with a note explaining that they might want to review their partnerships with someone who was under investigation for tax evasion. The story broke 2 days later. Influencer fraud, local content creator, under investigation for tax evasion and brand deception. The article was devastating. It detailed not just Kendra's financial crimes, but her pattern of stealing content, lying about engagement rates, and misrepresenting her lifestyle to sponsors. The journalist had done additional digging and found 3 other influencers who had similar stories about Kendra stealing their ideas and passing them off as her own. Within hours, every remaining brand partnership was terminated. Her Instagram account was flooded with comments from creators whose work she'd stolen, each post getting ratioed into oblivion. But the best part was the IRS investigation. Turns out, when you owe the government money and have been flaunting your lifestyle on social media, they take a very dim view of your creative accounting practices. My phone rang at 6 a.m. the day after the story broke. Evan. Kendra's voice was hollow, defeated. Good morning, Kendra. How are things? You know how things are. Actually, I don't. I've been staying off social media lately. Too much negativity, you know? They're going to audit me. The government. They're going to audit everything. That sounds stressful. I could go to jail, Evan. That would be unfortunate. Please, I know I hurt you, but this is bigger than our marriage. This could ruin my entire life. Your entire life? That's interesting phrasing. What about our life? The one you were planning to abandon for a fitness model with the personality of a protein shake? Silence. I never meant for it to go this far. Which part? The affair, the fraud, or the complete destruction of any respect I had for you as a human being? All of it. I was confused, and Troy made me feel, stop. Just stop. I don't care how Troy made you feel. I don't care about your confusion or your journey of self-discovery or whatever bullshit narrative you're trying to construct. Then what do you want? I want you to face the consequences of your actions. I want you to understand that choices have results, and sometimes those results suck. So you're just going to watch me lose everything? Kendra, you already lost everything. You lost it the moment you decided that our marriage was worth less than your Instagram engagement rate. Everything that's happening now is just the paperwork catching up. I hung up and blocked her number. 3 weeks later, I got a text from Jared. Bro, you need to see this. He sent me a link to Shireen's Instagram account. She'd just posted a video titled, How I Exposed My Toxic Friend's Fraud, a story of friendship, betrayal, and standing up for what's right. It had 500,000 views and counting. The comments were full of praise for Shireen's courage and integrity. Brands were already reaching out to her for partnerships. She'd gotten exactly what she wanted. I had to admire the artistry of it all. My divorce was finalized 2 months later. Kendra had to liquidate most of her assets to pay her tax debt and legal fees. The last I heard, she was working at a makeup counter in Yorkdale Mall, trying to rebuild her life away from social media. Troy had moved back in with his parents and was working as a personal trainer at a suburban gym. His modeling career was over, but he seemed to be doing okay. Sometimes people need to hit rock bottom to find out who they really are. As for me, I kept my job, kept my friends, and kept my dignity. I bought a small house in Leslieville, with a yard big enough for Baxter to run around. Started dating a veterinarian named Sarah, who thinks social media is mostly ridiculous and prefers reading books to taking selfies. Life is good. But the best part? The absolute best part happened 6 months after the divorce was final. I was at Lush with Jared, celebrating his promotion to head of security, when I saw a familiar figure at the bar. Kendra, looking tired and older than her 30 years, nursing a drink alone. She saw me and froze. I walked over, Jared trailing behind me with barely contained glee. Kendra, you look... I paused, pretending to search for the right word. Different. Evan, I didn't know you still came here. Oh, I don't usually, but tonight's special. Jared got promoted and we're celebrating. That's nice. Congratulations, Jared. Jared just nodded, clearly enjoying the awkwardness. How are you doing? I asked, and I actually meant it. I'm surviving, working, learning to live without the internet, which is harder than you'd think. I bet it is. Evan, I know this is probably pointless, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. really sorry. Not just because everything fell apart, but because of how I treated you. You didn't deserve any of it. I looked at her for a long moment, this woman who had been my wife, who had shared my bed and my dreams and my Netflix password, who had thrown it all away for the validation of strangers on the internet. Thank you for saying that, I said finally. It means something. Does it mean enough for you to forgive me? Kendra, I forgave you months ago. Not because you deserved it, but because carrying that anger was exhausting. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean we're friends. She nodded, tears starting to form in her eyes. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said. I really do, but I hope you find it by being honest with yourself and other people. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Kendra, that video compilation from your birthday party? That wasn't me. Her face went white. What? I mean, I enjoyed it immensely, but I didn't make it. Might want to think about who your real friends were. I walked away, leaving her to process that final revelation. Outside, Jared was practically bouncing with excitement. Dude, that was ice cold. I'm so proud of you right now. Thanks, man. But honestly, I'm just tired of the whole thing, ready to move on. Fair enough. But admit it, that felt good. I thought about it as we walked to the car. Did it feel good? Seeing her broken down, stripped of the artificial life she'd built, forced to confront the reality of her choices? Yeah, it felt pretty good. But more than that, it felt like closure. Like the final page of a chapter I was ready to stop reading. 6 months later, I married Sarah in a small ceremony in her parents' backyard. No photographers, no social media posts, no content creation. Just two people who liked each other enough to promise to keep liking each other for the foreseeable future. Baxter was the ring bearer. He did a terrible job, but everyone pretended he was perfect. Jared was my best man and gave a speech about how I was proof that nice guys don't finish last, they just finish with better people. I never saw Kendra again, but I heard through the grapevine that she eventually got her life together. Started working for a nonprofit, stayed off social media, even started dating someone who worked in education. Good for her. Shireen became a minor celebrity in the authentic influencer space, built a whole brand around exposing fake content creators. She wrote a book called Unfiltered: How I Took Down My Toxic Friend and Found My Truth. It did pretty well. Troy opened his own gym and seems happy enough. He posts occasionally on Instagram, but it's mostly just normal gym stuff. No more shirtless motivation quotes. And me? I learned that revenge is like a good wine. It's best when it's perfectly aged and shared with people who can appreciate the craftsmanship. But more importantly, I learned that the best revenge isn't destroying someone else's life. It's building a better one for yourself.